This morning, I want to show you a duck I'm not sure we've ever seen before. Here he is. He's my clown duck. And as you can see, he doesn't look very happy, does he? He's got a big tear running down his cheek. He seems very sad. I wonder what makes you feel sad. Oh, there are lots of things that can make us feel sad. And some of my ducks can help me to explain this. My spotty duck reminds me that sometimes we can get sick. We don't feel well. Or someone we love is sick and not well. And it makes us feel very sad. When we're sick, there's things we want to do, but we can't. We don't have the energy. All we can do is stay in bed and wait and hope to get better. And when we're sick, that can feel like a really long time. So that makes us sad. My student duck reminds me that sometimes learning can be really hard. We might struggle to understand the sums we're being taught or the spellings. We might have a test coming up and we're quite frightened by it. We're worried that we're not going to do very well. And when that happens, we can feel quite sad. And grown-ups can feel that way too when they leave school. They might find it hard to get work, or they may have work that they don't really enjoy, or maybe they do enjoy their job, but there's just so much of it, and it just never seems to get done. And when we feel under pressure, that can make us feel sad. Or my suffragette duck reminds me that we may not always be treated fairly. They weren't treated fairly because they weren't allowed to vote when the men were. Sometimes people can pick on us because of who we are or something about us. And if you're bullied, I would encourage you to speak to a grown-up, or if you're a grown-up already, speak to a good friend and try to get help. But sometimes we're just not treated fairly. And that can make us feel angry or sad. Of course, my gangster duck reminds us that it may not be someone else hurting us. We may have done something bad or something wrong, and we regret it. We wish we hadn't said what we did, or we hadn't done what we've done. But we can't undo it, and that can make us feel sad. We can be disappointed in ourselves. Maybe we've tried to say sorry, but the other person isn't ready to hear it yet. Or maybe we just feel really down on ourselves because we got something wrong. So all of those things and so many more can make us feel really sad. And you may have had your own thoughts. And when we're sad, we can feel like nobody cares. We can feel very alone. And in today's first reading, we heard about a man who was sad and thought nobody cared about him and thought everyone had forgotten about him. In fact, he thought God had forgotten his whole people. This man's name was Moses. And Moses was out in the wilderness one day looking after some sheep. Moses was an Israelite, and most of the Israelites were slaves in Egypt. They'd been treated harshly, they were being treated unfairly, and Moses tried to help them, but he got it wrong and he had to run away and hide. And that was why he was looking after sheep in the wilderness. And then one day, Moses saw a strange thing. There was a bush and it was on fire, but it never burned up. And he went across to look when suddenly he heard a voice. "Hello, Moses." "Who's that?" "It's God. You know, the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob." Moses would have heard lots of stories growing up about these three and the ways God had helped them and be with them. And then God said, "Moses, I know you're sad about the people of Israel. I know you think I've forgotten all about them. But I haven't. I've heard their prayers to be rescued, and now I'm going to send you to do it." Me, said Moses. I couldn't do that. And Moses could think of all sorts of reasons why he couldn't. But God answered them all, and God sent Moses to be the answer to his prayers, to rescue his people from slavery. Moses was sad because he thought that God had forgotten all about him. But God hadn't. And when we feel sad, God hasn't forgotten us. The Bible tells us to cast our cares on Jesus because he cares for us. So whether we feel sad about sickness, or whether it's something at school or something at work, people being nasty, or us being sorry for something we've done, we can tell God about it. He knows. He listens. He cares. And if we let him, he can help us. We're going to have an action prayer now. We're going to speak of how God sees when we're sad, and when we say that, we're going to point to our eye, because that's where we see. We're going to talk about how God hears our cries, and when we do that, we'll put up a hand to our ear, like we're listening really hard. And then we say, we lift our worries to you, and we raise both our hands as if we're lifting something up to give it to God. You can join me in that. So God sees, God hears, and we lift our worries. God, you know we feel sad about, and I invite you to tell God whatever makes you feel sad. You see us when we are sad. You hear our cries. So we lift our worries to you. Amen.